Om Tare Du Tare Du Re Soha. Om Tare Du Tare Du Re Soha. Om Tare Du Tare Du Re Soha. Om Tare Du Tare.
So we have entered into these teachings on the foundations of the Buddhist path, and His Holiness did not waste any time, went right to the right to the Four Seals. This is what the Buddhist view is, and we just completed the Four Seals last week, and now we enter into the next stage, which is the two truths: ultimate truth, conventional truth. And this is really critical. It's emphasized quite a bit in that it's very easy to sit here and think, well, if things are empty of inherent existence and things are not the way they appear, like nothing really matters, and it's actually just the opposite. Everything matters. And so we can really fall into a sort of nihilistic view, or nihilistic, potato. And so we really want to avoid that at all costs. And that's really a big downfall. So the two truths, this conventional truth, is this experience we're having. And there's some appropriate ways that we experience. There's cause and effect. And this conventional and ultimate truth actually are really hand in hand. They're not these two separate things so much. And His Holiness is about to explain that in some pretty technical things that hopefully won't unpack in a way that makes some sense. I thought we did pretty good last week with the whole, emptiness of all phenomena. I think we did that pretty well. And so let's see, get into the deep waters here and see what happens. Okay, two truths. From the perspective of subtle dependent arising, all phenomena are empty of inherent existence and exist by being merely designated by names and concepts. So just, right there, a label and a concept, right? So a label for me would be John Bruna, right? And does John Bruna exist the way that you think, or does each of you have a different concept of John Bruna? Probably each have a different concept. Now, there's a body here, right? And but then, everyone has a different John Bruna in their mind. That's a concept. Rachel came here and nobody knew her. She was just, a woman sitting in a chair, and they go, hey, that's Rachel. And then people go, oh, hey, Rachel. Now, there's a whole, we fill in, okay, here's a Rachel. Rachel's a person who makes announcements at the end of the talks, and other people know Rachel, but didn't know her. Now Rachel. If I'm in a store, a lot of people see this body, but they don't see John Bruna, right? They see some guy, probably looking for the ice cream aisle. And, so, but somebody else sees John Bruna, who knows John Bruna. Oh, and then they see a different John Bruna. And then people who knew me by Jungchu Chopel, it's this monk, they have this whole other concept, but it's just this body, right? But you're going to see how we exist by this label and a concept, and it's appropriate, very appropriate, designate conventional reality. My driver's license, right? It's very helpful. Lets me get on planes and things, and so understanding this, we exist, but I'm not an independent John Bruna that everyone sees as John Bruna. That's not how I exist. That's not inherent. There's no independent John Bruna sitting here. So that's just one sentence into this. Okay, so we exist only, by concepts and labels, right? But it's functional and it's valid. It's fine. So if we only exist in this way, how then do we maintain a coherent notion of our everyday world? Oh, you want me to share it? Boy, I'm off task today. Let me share that with everyone else. Okay. How then do we maintain a coherent notion of our everyday world? How can we accept causes producing results and maintain the distinctions among different objects if ultimately everything lacks inherent existence and exists by mere designation? The Buddhist teaching on the two truths, ultimate and conventional, helps us understand this. I hope it does. Ultimate truth. The emptiness of inherent existence of all phenomena is the actual way phenomena exist. So this is beyond concept, right? It's just the ultimate nature of phenomena, of existence, is something that we can know, that we can directly experience. But because it's beyond concept, you really can't explain it, right? Because now we're trying to put concepts. And so that's why there's this great, image when the Buddha is pointing at the moon. We can point the direction, but you have to directly experience it. So the ultimate nature of all phenomena, the way things actually exist, is beyond conceptual mind. Ultimate truths are true in that they exist the way they appear to the non-conceptual wisdom of the Aryas, so the awakened ones, right? So we can wake up, we can experience this, we can know this. Just, Aryas do this. That's the ultimate way things exist. So, samvrti. The Sanskrit word translated as convention also means veil, indicating that the actual truth of an object is obscured or veiled. The veil being ignorance, or misperception, this ignorance, this misunderstanding. The mind that's grasping to inherent existence. And due to this conventional mind, due to ignorance, phenomena appear inherently existent, whereas they are not. So I appear to be very independently John Bruna, but that's really not how I exist. Veiled truths are not true. They do not exist as they appear. They appear deceptively. They are true only for ignorance, and as such are false. So they're true in this conventional mind, this misperceiving mind, this samsara that we live in. Our everyday world of people, things, and experiences are veiled truths, conventional truths, veiled truths. To give another example, people gave me the title Dalai Lama. If you attend a public teaching that I give, you look at the person in front of the room who is speaking and think, this is the Dalai Lama, as if there were an objective person out there, a person that exists from his own side. But when you search for exactly what that person is, you can't pinpoint anything. You see the body of a Buddhist monk and you hear a voice. Through my body language and speech, you have some idea of what is going on in my mind. But when you look in the body, speech, and mind, you can't find the Dalai Lama. He is not in his body, speech, or mind. The appearance of the Dalai Lama is an inherently existent, as an inherently existent person is false. Let me read that again. The appearance of the Dalai Lama as an inherently existent person is false. Right? Again, we have a concept in our mind. Actually, he exists because, on the basis of the collection of body and mind, your mind forms the conception of a person that you then designate the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama exists by being merely designated by name and concept. That is his conventional nature. So conventionally exists Dalai Lama, given a teaching. It's a wonderful opportunity to be with the Dalai Lama, get a good feeling about that. Conventional truth, right? We go to a teaching, we get to see him, and there's an experience there. His ultimate nature is the emptiness of being an inherently existent Dalai Lama. And just remember, when they use the word inherently, they're talking self-existent from their own side, independent, right? But obviously, nothing's independent. Everything is arising independence upon, something in our bodies, and air and oxygen and cells and atoms and, all this that make us up. So when we're saying empty, nothing's just independent and solid. Everything's dependently arising, and arising in his case in dependence upon that body and mind and speech and so forth. And even the concept of Dalai Lama only arises in our mind because somebody told us about the Dalai Lama. Otherwise, there's just an old guy in some robes, with a shaved head. For each phenomenon, the two truths are present on that one base. For example, the mind has a veiled and conventional nature and a deeper reality or ultimate nature. So the mind, our mind, has a conventional aspect, but also this ultimate nature. Its conventional nature is its clarity and cognizance, the mind that perceives and experiences things. Its ultimate nature is its emptiness and inherent existence. And I'm sorry. I'm a little tired. I'm not getting my words quite clear. And this is important to be very clear on. Its ultimate nature is its emptiness of inherent existence. These two truths exist inseparably with respect to the mind, although they are perceived by different cognizers, right? The two different cognizers, the ultimate and the conventional. The conventional mind is perceived by a conventional, reliable cognizer, while the ultimate nature of the mind is known by a wisdom mind that realizes emptiness. Although the two truths are different, they exist together and depend on each other. For that reason, the mind and its emptiness are said to be one nature, but nominally different. The two truths are not two unrelated levels of being, with ultimate truth being some absolute independent reality separate from the world of interdependent things. Let's go a little further. The very meaning of the term dependent arising enables us to gain insight into the union of the two truths. Everything exists dependent on or in relation to other factors that are not it. Flowers depend on seeds. Human being depends on his or her body and mind. Space depends on the lack of obstruction. Being dependent, they are empty of inherent existence, but emptiness doesn't mean total non-existence, because flowers, humans, and space arise. These veiled truths exist. Everybody's clear, right? What's that?
100%.
100%. Got it. Okay. So if we think about terms of ultimate reality, that is the space of which our current experience arises, right? We couldn't exist without these dependently arising events, right? We wouldn't exist. So there is this very nature of dependently arising experience. But if there wasn't this emptiness of inherent existence, we wouldn't exist at all, right? We can only come from the space from which there is space, from which then phenomena gives rise to other phenomena that gives rise to our parents and grandparents and their parents, and fortunately them getting together and us having a body, and all the things that have given rise to our experience, and oxygen, air, and how things come into being. And so things can only come into being dependently. And because they come independently, they don't exist inherently. But there's no independent thing that doesn't, or it isn't just here all the time. It doesn't change. It isn't dependent. There's just no thing like that, no phenomenon like that. So it's because of emptiness we can exist. Right? So emptiness is not nothingness. Emptiness is that things are empty of the way we're perceiving them, right? We're attributing qualities to the phenomena, right? You're attributing a quality to me, John Bruna. You're kind of filling me in. And different people are filling me in differently. And if you're doing that, could you add a little more muscle up here and, maybe a little less sag? That'd be nice. And it's kind of like, I like the view of a coloring book, kind of, there's the outlines, there's something there, but we color it in. And we think that's the way it is, right? Objectively. But when we look more deeply, it's not, at all the way it is. You can't find the concepts in what I'm looking at. The concepts are in my mind. So emptiness is not nothingness. It's saying it's without all that projection. It's without all that filling in. But out of our misperception of ourselves and experience, we fill it in. We think that's how it is. And when I'm looking at Sam, I know how Sam is. And I clearly know exactly how a dark chocolate peanut butter cup from Trader Joe's is inherently delicious and quite decadent. So in a conventional experience, it works the other way. So out of this ultimate reality of experience, we have this veil of karma and klesha, this lens through which we experience the world based on our conditioning. And we fill things in a particular way, and we have a pleasant experience due to our karmic imprints, or an unpleasant due to our karmic. It's like some people may not like chocolate covered peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's. I find it hard to imagine, but it's possible, right? It's possible. And that's why you normally use Brussels sprouts. These analogies here are very much challenging, but it's within the realm of possibility that there's someone. Okay, so Brussels sprouts anyway. Some people don't like Brussels sprouts. Let's go back to that. More doable. And where was I going with that besides getting hungry? Oh, I was going, so for conventional experience then, so out of this emptiness then, and our, which is from which this space and experience and phenomena can arise. We need space for that. We need this emptiness. We need this causal and interdependent relationship that we exist. But now, out of conventional experience, is the opportunity to recognize the ultimate truth. So in our conventional experience, we have an opportunity to use this cause and effect experience that we get to utilize, working within the laws of karma, cause and effect. That's just karma, cause and effect, to understand ourselves and our experience a little better, work with the imprints and the conditioning, and unravel the ignorance, unravel the misperception, and directly experience our very nature. So that can actually provide us this opportunity. That's why it's critical to not fall into this nihilistic view that this doesn't really matter, when actually it's the very pathway to freedom. We've arrived at a particular point in our experience to unravel the misperceptions. Pretty exciting. I think there's just a bit more and then we'll kind of discuss it. Within the context of these appearances being dependent, veiled truth. Oops, I didn't share it with you again. We're going to make it happen. Okay. Within the context of these appearances being dependent, veiled truths, the Buddha taught the method aspect of the path to awakening. Because so many different kinds of forms and appearances exist, they're called the vast, or the varieties of phenomena. So in this conditioning, this is the vast, not the half-vast, the vast, okay? All right. It's important to be clear here. That was kind of funny, huh? All right. Focus, John. Okay, so within the context of phenomena's ultimate nature being emptiness, the Buddha taught the wisdom aspect of the path. The wisdom phenomena is called the profound because it is free from conceptual fabrications and is realized by a profound wisdom consciousness. Method and wisdom together are called the stages of the vast and profound path. So method directly related to the vast, wisdom to the profound. The union of the two is how we achieve awakening. By meditating on the true truths in their inseparability and by cultivating the method and the wisdom aspects of the path, all faulty states of mind are gradually removed and the excellent attributes of a Buddha's truth body and form body are developed. Buddhahood is attained through the unified cultivation of both method and wisdom. The chief wisdom is the wisdom realizing the emptiness of inherent existence. And in the Mahayana, the chief method is the altruistic intention to become a Buddha, the great compassion, bodhicitta, induced by great love and great compassion. Although practiced in tandem, method and wisdom each has its own principal result in Buddhahood. The principal result of the method is the form bodies of a Buddha, the bodies in which a Buddha manifests in order to teach sentient beings. And the principal result of wisdom is the truth body of the Buddha's omniscient mind and its ultimate nature. So method and wisdom, we always talk about cultivating the method. We often sometimes use the word merit, bodhicitta, and wisdom, and their practice in tandem. So we have this method wisdom, the unification brings together this fully awakened Buddhahood. Buddha Dharma can also be spoken of in terms of basis, path, and result. The basis is the two truths, conventional and ultimate. That's the basis of our existence. The path is the two cultivations, method and wisdom. And the result is the two bodies of a Buddha, the form body and the truth body. And that's why it's so valuable. I mean, this discussion sometimes seems, really technical and sometimes a little bit to grasp, but just laying down the basis, the foundation of experience, and then the path. And so over the next following chapters, we're going to kind of, how do we engage in this in very practical ways? But it's giving the view, basis, path, and result. Here we see clearly the correlation of conventional truths, the method aspect of the path, and the form body of a Buddha, and the correlation of ultimate truths, the wisdom aspect of the path, and the truth body of a Buddha. The topics introduced in this chapter are complex and important. Only when we understand the nature and relationship of the two truths, according to Madhyamaka viewpoint, can we fully understand the meaning of the four truths and know the full meaning and purpose of taking refuge in the three jewels. This chapter gave you a glimpse of these. The fuller explanations that follow will elaborate on them. The four seals, impermanence, dukkha, selflessness, and nirvana, are among the most important objects for us to know on the path. For that reason, in the following chapter, we'll explore the reliable cognizers that enable us to have correct knowledge. So His Holiness is making this point that these four seals that we've just covered, are really critical in terms of this path. Basically, it's the Buddhist view. And the view being, here's the map. Here's kind of the way we experience the world. And again, the first three seals, you'd be hard-pressed to find any scientist having fault with it. It's just the way things exist. It's just the way it is. The fourth one makes it Buddhist, because the fourth one's nirvana. It says, well, you don't have to live this way. But the first three around impermanence and unsatisfactoriness and emptiness, that's, they can put it under a microscope. There's nothing that I don't think is really too questionable there. Things are impermanent. We have all this stress and unsatisfactoriness in our lives. We're not going to find any one thing out there that's going to provide us this lasting happiness that we seek. And this emptiness that we've been talking about, it's just kind of the way things exist, right? I'm not the same John even that started this conversation. My cells have been changing, my body's been changing, my experience has been changing. Even my knowledge has changed just from reading this. And so I'm in motion and I'm becoming in each moment, just as all of you are. But that's not how we appear, right? We appear pretty stagnant and, seem pretty much like the person yesterday or 10 years ago. So that's just, first three are just that. Fourth one says, you can be free of all this. And now we've got Buddhist view. You can unravel the misperceptions. And then these two truths are critical because we can fall into one of two extremes. It's very easy to fall into this very conventional worldview and just, wow, this is the world we live in, that's real interesting practice. That's kind of nice, makes me feel good. But, I really want my pizza and my ice cream and this is going to give me some joy and I'm going to do this other stuff. And we really make it real. We, so-and-so is like this. So-and-so is a jerk. That person is, and as though it's real, as though that's how they exist. And we just keep creating the habits and the conditioning that keep us trapped, even though we might have some awareness that it's really not like that. I mean, it's really hard to undo those. And so we can just get stuck in this conventional reality, even though there might be, most people even have a little bit of awareness that things don't quite exist the way that they're talking about. They might even believe that that perfume will actually make you, all the qualities that it says it will. I get on a whole thing about perfumes and colognes and stuff. Yeah, I have to, right? Get that. What's that cologne where they chase you down the, yeah. And so now the other side of it is, well, this is all empty. None of this really matters. And whoa, that's the wrong direction. That's just, wow, you want to get stuck in this sort of real cycle of meaninglessness and void of ethics and values and purpose and compassion. All of this is existing in a conventional way is the path. The capacity to have compassion is the method. The capacity to have conditions ripen for us to engage in understanding and exploration. We need people, we need the conditions, we need these things to ripen in order to engage in the path. So it's actually, everything's important. Everything. All the time. And so if we don't understand how these two truths work together, we can fall into one or two of those extremes. And then we'll miss the whole thing. I actually had someone just recently who's a pretty long practitioner, but in their lineage, kind of missed the compassion piece and got so into the emptiness part, got a little lost in that and, forgot, oh yeah, this other piece is so valuable. And, it was kind of like, what's it really matter? And so pretty easy to get trapped into that. All right, so I'll pause there and see if anyone has some comments. I'm sure it was, crystal clear.
I have a thought.
Okay.
I was trying to explain to someone a while ago about, we were discussing emptiness, and I can't remember everything I said, but I suggested that it was like a field of potential. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how that fits with what we're saying.
Yeah. So when I think about a field of potential, or I'm really thinking about karma. So they talk about potentials. So karma, there's all these potentials that can arise when certain conditions happen, and people get stuck in thinking about karma in sort of this linear way. Did a bad thing, bad thing's going to happen. Good thing's going to happen. This linear thing. But your karma is really, and you'll find a lot of teachings cultivating positive potentials, and it's much more a whole minefield of our imprints and then everybody else's condition and all this. There's all these potentials, right, that can arise. And so they arise, based on, what's happening in that moment, whether I like it or don't like it, or I feel, resiliency, or I feel depression, same events, same things. And, the potentials to get distressed or feel hopeful, or, all of these potentials and how I'm going to experience things can ripen in a wide range of ways. It's not linear at all in that sense. We might have a lot of negative karmic imprints, but not be anywhere near where those conditions can ripen for that. We're around a loving environment with different people, and, different things happening, and they're not happening, but I have a little bit of good potential, and these conditions ripen, and then I have this great experience. And so we have all of these potentials that ripen, and so those would be sort of this karmic imprints and conditioning and these potentials. You could relate that in terms of emptiness, in the sense that, what ripens or how I experience isn't inherently how, I'm still filling in a picture, right? I'm still filling it in. And so, but how I'm filling it in is not the way, how it exists, right? And so, for example, obviously, we could take a look at someone that we have a really adverse experience with, and somebody else likes them, right? And so those are the potentials, right? Potential. I like this person, somebody doesn't, but they're empty of those ripenings, right? Those potentials and how they ripen. But it's nice to know with Carmen, and Tubden Chodron speaks, really well on the sort of fields of potentials, that can pop up, and we just don't know, right? We just don't know. And so it's I find it exciting, I don't feel trapped. I feel like, yeah, I'm kind of an idiot right now, but if I bump into Sam, maybe I have a good result. There's some other potential that can ripen. And but yes, that's often you'll hear that the word potentials with sort of those karmic imprints and potentials for things to happen. And even it kind of relates to astrology, right? Astrology is kind of karma, and here's the potentials that may or may not, happen in certain circumstances. As they kind of, they're pretty much listing a lot of potentials.
Okay, that's a helpful clarification. I was thinking of it in terms of, like, take Rachel, for example, coming into the room. She is a field of potential for everyone who doesn't know Rachel. She's empty potential to be any kind of Rachel's, or you when people meet you or see you. So that's how I was thinking of it, but it does make more sense.
Yeah, because how you'll see her through there is this potential for us to all experience her in different ways. And she is empty of the Rachelness, but the potential being filled in will be our karma from our karmic sort of veil, our conditioning.
Thanks for making sense of that.
Filling it in. Yeah.
Hi, John.
Hi.
So there's two sets of things, right? The relative truth and the ultimate truth, and then the method and the wisdom.
Yeah.
And what they're talking about. And then, so I was kind of thinking of meditation, and when you're meditating, you have awareness of the stream of consciousness or the stream of thoughts. And so is the awareness the emptiness, and the stream is like the relative stuff or the relative truth in terms of the mind then?
There's lots of ways to work with that. So for example, meditating on sort of a vipassana sort of meditation on emptiness. I might need you to mute your speaker because we're getting a little feedbacky loop. There you go. Or mic, yeah. So in one aspect, you're really working with the ultimate nature, and you're working with wisdom. However, everything you're doing with even trying to be aware of awareness and trying to be aware of that is all conventional. I'm in this thing, so you've got a method actually. So everything I'm doing, and even this gets a little tricky, but even the idea of striving for wisdom, for a cause, that's effortful, and it's cause and it's effect, and it's conventional mind, and it's all going to be method, right? That's just going to be method. And at some point, through that method of even meditating on emptiness, you might start to get a realization, the result, cause, and then the result is some taste of this emptiness, at which point you start becoming effortless. But effort is always going to be stuck. But you need effort to become effortless. Yeah. That's how I trapped one guy into our program. It was pretty funny having a session when we were talking. He kept talking about all this effortlessness, and now you just try to be effortless. And I said, well, it takes a lot of effort to be effortless. And he goes, it does. Right. You need to know how, there's a lot of things that have to ripen to become effortless, and it just shifted his mind. It's pretty interesting. He just reminded me, he goes, that got my attention. So technically they're working in tandem. And to answer your question, then it's not that in the same meditation you can be cultivating these two things, and we can even be meditating on just resting in awareness. It's technically a concentration, but we can be observing the mind, the thoughts that arise. And you can kind of investigate, turn that into a vipassana, which is going to help ripen the mind of wisdom. And so that will be happening. But technically it's all method, since we're kind of coming from a conventional mind still. So it's method and wisdom in union in that way. But I'm not sure that addressed your question. It's not that the stream of thoughts is the sort of conventional. It's even the mind that's observing is conventional still.
Okay, so method is kind of conventional, and wisdom is the ultimate truth. Those two are kind of together.
Yeah, that's what he was pointing out, is kind of what we're doing in this conventional experience. The method is using these, methods to realize the ultimate nature. And then the cultivation of wisdom is what realizes the ultimate nature. And there are actual meditation practices, vipassana insight meditation practices, that are focused purely on wisdom. So that is, even in a conventional mind, working towards the wisdom. But even that is a method up to a point. And then you get kind of a result, and then you get kind of like, oh, wait a minute. There is no cause and a result. So you get the sort of like, oh, and then you kind of just let go of everything. And so it's kind of, all this. I was listening to a talk, maybe I'll post it, on effortlessness. Khandro Rinpoche, she's great. She's just so brilliant. She is so brilliant, so dead on. And this person kept asking about this effortlessness, and she kept having these mind things around the effort, and she keeps, trying to talk about, as long as you have effort, you're stuck basically in samsara, kind of, because that's a conventional mind. I want this result. Who wants the result? This ego. Okay, so kind of keep getting stuck, and the woman knows, as the woman keeps working with, well, then how do I not have that? And and at the end, as she's going through all these explanations about how ultimately, I think what she was saying, you get to the cause and effect, these meditations and the method, you'll get that sort of result of recognizing the effortlessness and let go. But you need all that to get there. At the end, she just tells her, what I'm telling you is, do effort. It's just so funny. It's like, for you, effort, it's like, that's, and drop the effortlessness. And because we are in a conventional experience, right? We do have ignorance, misperception. And these methods they're giving us, these techniques, are useful in a conventional experience to have a result of letting go of that experience. It's kind of like I say sometimes, that, because people have these ideas that, the guru is within, and you don't need all this teachers and teachings, like it's all here. But the point is that you need teachers and guidance and temples and methods to realize that you don't need teachers and teachings and methods and temples, right? In other words, you need all those to realize you don't need them. But if you try to start with, I don't need them, good luck. And that's what happens. A lot of people start, and that's where this guy was starting with effortlessness. Good luck. He's been for many years. So these techniques and methods, that's where these two truths are so valuable, is in this conventional experience, here are the methods given our current situation, which will get you to a result where you start letting go of all those. And then that effortlessness takes place. Yeah, Devin.
And then does that become the non-conceptual wisdom?
You will ultimately can then get to that place of a non-conceptual wisdom of an arhat. Yeah. And initially it's just a little taste of it, and a little taste. And then with these methods, you can stabilize that experience. So it's not just glimpses, right? Because we'll get glimpses, but it's not very stable. We come back into conventional. But what happens with the methods is you can learn to then have those experiences of non-conceptual, reality in a sense, and then stabilize it and deepen it and saturate the mind. Yeah. So hopefully the takeaways here then is that intellectually we can kind of understand interdependence. We can kind of understand this subjective experience I'm having, and it has a lot to do with me, how I see you, and even whether I got enough sleep or whether, whatever attitude I might have, whether I'm having a good day or not, it's still going to fill this in. But how I'm seeing anyone or anything is always colored by what I'm bringing to it. And so that's what things are empty of. They're empty of what I'm projecting into them in that way. And we can kind of get that. And then we know that, wow, if I attend to this differently, I'm going to have a different experience. And then the Buddhist teaching will say, if you start cultivating different potentials, right? Back to Rita's thing, different potentials, different imprints, different karma, like what I put in my mind is going to have a lot to do with what I perceive out of my mind. People miss that point a lot. We'll, do my little practice here and then, just put all kinds of garbage in my resentments, that frustration, attitudes, blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, my mind's conditioned by what I'm putting in. What pops up in my mind didn't just show up, it showed up because it's been ripened within my mind. What am I putting in my mind? So if every day I'm starting to cultivate gratitude and kindness and, some sense of this impermanence of how we evolve and how we become and how I attend to someone, then I'm planting all the seeds for my future experience. Whatever's happening has happened because of previous. So if it's terrible, Wonderful, it's gone. That karma is gone. But instead of celebrating that karma is gone, we get frustrated that this bad thing happened to me, and then I get angry, and I'm just perpetuating it. And what this is saying is just the opposite. That horrible thing has happened. That karma is ripened. It's gone. How I respond now is creating my future. And so now, working with acceptance and problem solving and kindness and, compassion, then what's going to ripen it? Now what potentials am I creating? I'm creating all these other potentials. So the method then, becomes a way of engaging with people, places, things, and event, understanding this path and the way I get to experience things based on my conditioning and what am I putting in my mind? Resentment, anger, frustration, or clarity, kindness, compassion, problem solving, which is it? And what I water grows. And so in a conventional reality, we just start, okay, let's start working with the methods of planting within my mind, cultivating the seeds and qualities that are going to give me a different result. And as I do that, then even things that used to bother me don't bother me so much anymore. And those things didn't change. The mind that's perceiving them changed. Like, wow, okay, that's what an inside job means. It's not some big mystery, I'm going to be happy. Whether I'm happy today or not had a lot to do with what I did yesterday. And, it's not, it's Pollyanna. And so, different events will pop up, depression, those types of things happen. Okay, so that has ripened. How am I responding? Now I have a new opportunity. So this conventional truth is this ripe ground that we can engage with to ultimately eliminate it from our minds. Or we can just recognize what Sam's shirt says. Everything hurts and I'm dying. Thanks for your definition of samsara. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a classic. That's what shirt said. So,
Where can I get one?
yeah, we need to print them up. Yeah.
There'll be one available soon.
Right. So this is the it's so nice because here we're starting at, this is kind of, if I understand the view, if I understand the path, then I can start shifting how I attend to that. I can start shifting just more accurately, little bits, little nudges. What if I, attended to this person a little bit differently? Would I have a different experience? What if I had a little patience? When we do the refuge, we really talk about these perfections, patience and ethics. Wow, gratitude. If I was a little more, generous with my attention and my time with people, we're watering very different seeds for a very different mind. So 6 perfections are really the path of a bodhisattva: generosity, ethics, patience, joyful effort, concentration, and wisdom. That is essential. That is the path right there. Generosity, right? Time, energy, resources, generous, realizing we're together in this, just like family. Ethics, really being mindful of, am I getting resentful and having ill will, or am I creating some understanding and compassion? Just working with those 10 non-virtues, avoiding those, cultivating the 10 virtues. Ethics, patience, right? Patience is huge. Patience is, to me, just everything. discomfort and impulsivity have created a lot of problems in my life. Right? I do not want to feel uncomfortable, and I can impulsively react way in ways that I will regret. Might get a talking to, because my impulsivity, right? My reactivity. So patience, to be able to pause, to respond instead of react, to allow some feelings that I don't like to come and not have to, engage right with them. To, patience is just so foundational for, allowing a process to see and noticing and engaging in ways that are meaningful. And then this joyful effort, this joyous effort, again, effort to become effortless. Know that what I'm doing is loving and kind towards me because it's creating this incredible life that I get to live. And so it really is the act of loving kindness to put this effort in, to free myself of these afflictions and be of benefit to others. And in concentration, we need to tame this mind, right? And then wisdom, which liberates. So that's the whole thing there. All right, well, let's wrap with that, and let's go ahead now and dedicate. I will pop that up on the screen. I think I'll pop that up on the screen. It's possible I'll do that. I don't see my shared screen button anymore. There it is. Okay. So let's take a moment to reflect upon the kindness of all those who have helped us, all the conditions that have ripened for us, everything about us being here because of the efforts of so many others, and so many events in our own lives that brought us to this moment. And the potentials have ripened for us to explore and investigate this path of understanding and of compassion, to method and wisdom. And let us dedicate any and all merit accumulated from our time here together for the benefit of all sentient beings, that they may be free of suffering, and for our own continued spiritual growth, that we may be of ultimate benefit to them as we awaken in our own efforts of the path. Let us dedicate. By this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Such a joy to be here with all of you and have another wonderful session. And
Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu